health system, our security system, our autonomies in order to achieve peace and democracy. And that has been systematically denied, is being denied, and we run the risk, even with these elections, that the electoral promises and the faith in a government changing a reality that can only be changed by the people becomes the issue again. And that explains why Rodolfo Hernandez, in part, gained so many votes. It's the fact that people want to vote against the establishment because there are very few and very small avenues to act politically otherwise.
So you're saying that it could be that they just won't join together to beat Petro and Marquez. Finally, we just have 20 seconds. But how dangerous is this for Petro and Marquez? Some of their speeches they give behind bulletproof shields. They've had death threats against them.
Absolutely, extremely dangerous to them, extremely dangerous to everybody in the whole country. There was an armed strike by paramilitary forces throughout half of the country. This is linked to the armed forces. Yes, it's dangerous for them, for everybody. We all live, including Francia and Gustavo, under constant death threats and under a state of genocide.
We have to leave it there. We will continue to follow this. Of course, Manuel Rosenthal, Colombian physician, activist, part of Pueblos and Camino, People on the Path. That does it for our show. Happy birthday to Angie Karen. Welcome back, Victorina Nadura. I'm Amy Goodman, Juan Gonzalez.
The time is now 2 minutes after 1 o'clock.
In this program
I'll say the following program are those of the people expressing them and not necessarily those of Fresh Air Incorporated, its staff, or its board of directors. 2 minutes after 1 o'clock, it is KFAI, Minneapolis. And as it is Tuesday afternoon and it's 1 o'clock, that means it's time for Conversations with Al McFarlane. Mr. McFarlane, are you there?
I am here. Hey, how you doing, man?
Good to see you. Good to hear you. People
Likewise.
can see you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It looks like you got a full conversation house here packed, so I'm just gonna dip my way.
And we're ready to go as well.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. As the station indicated, a full house, a great program, and I look forward to jumping right into it. I want to say that we started the feed a little early, catching the tail end of Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! Great program. I'm glad that our show follows them because they've got a committed, progressive, principled audience. And we hope that what we do on this program continues their interest and moves us and them together on a path toward inclusion and towards equity, towards justice and fairness. In that regard, let me bring my first guest in, my guest and friend, Attorney General Keith Ellison. Brother Keith, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm awesome, man. Good to see you. Good to see everybody.
Hello, good morning.
Good to see you as well. I want to start off by having you kind of reflect on George Floyd. That's the week that the country, the world is commemorating. And in doing so, speak to the other issues that we're looking at as justice issues, particularly the deaths of Black men and women. And then I'm going to go from there to have you sort of talk about your feelings, posture, thoughts about gun possession, gun violence, looking at what happened in Texas, and prior to that, what happened in New York. So let me just turn the mic over to you, Attorney General Keith Ellison.
Well, let me tell you, Al, I hear a lot of people say, especially our young people, that look, maybe, this country was not built for us. You hear young people say that. They say it a lot. And of course, when this country was founded, only white men over 21 of property who were Protestant could vote. And yet people have, throughout this nation's history, fought to expand the rights of more and more people to the point now where, at least legally speaking, we have multiracial democracy. Now, there are threats to it. There are threats to it, and we need to safeguard those, and we need to expand and make sure that that the fight for freedom, justice, equal protection under the law is we just got to make sure that we are absolutely dedicated to that. But the truth is that in some ways, that's what the Floyd fight was all about, that we had to make sure that no one was above the law, no one is beneath it. The real way to make sure that we have a society based on equal justice under the law is to make sure that there is no group of people who it's okay just to kill them any way you want to, on video, whatever. And that's just the way it is. And there's also no group of people who get to kill others, and you can't hold them accountable, even if they clearly have violated the law. That's the real struggle, to make sure that we have equal justice under the law. And, I hope that people, respect the fact that, yes, this was one important case. The other three have been found guilty in federal court. There have been other convictions as well, not just in Minnesota, but the Arbery matter and others. And this is a good sign, equal justice under the law, but we can't quit. We've got to keep it up. And we've also got to make sure that we make the policy changes that are needed. I was at the White House last week with President Biden, and he passed a very important executive order. And the reason he had to pass executive orders is because Congress wouldn't pass anything. Mm-hmm. But he did issue that executive order. And that executive order says that, you cannot just go from one, department to another, even though you have a bad record at one department, you go to another department. There has a whole lot of things in there that were of benefit to the public. And so I would say that we need policy change. We need administrative change. Departments all over the country have got to say that they're going to deal seriously with chronic violations of the law. And not only does this protect the public, it protects the men and women of law enforcement who are there to do a good job. And many are. I've met them. And I'm impressed that despite having to work with people like Derek Chauvin, that they keep on trying to protect and serve the public. So that's where we are. We need to continue to prosecute cases where the law has been violated. We need administrative agencies like the police departments to fire people who don't supposed to be there. We need state legislatures and Congress to continue to pass laws to make sure that every person can expect to be treated with fairness, dignity, and justice.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. My guest is Keith Ellison, Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. And we're talking about the Floyd case in particular, but the violence in our country. And in the George Floyd case, as you indicated, Attorney General Ellison, there have been 3 convictions at the federal level. And of those 3, four altogether, right? All 4 have been convicted at the federal level. Yeah. Chauvin's, as I understand it, his case is done both in the federal and in the state level. He's appealing, I understand.
At the state level, he's appealing.
Then the other 3 have been found guilty at a federal level, but are waiting for state court action, except for one who accepted a plea deal with the state. Walk us through that. What does it mean?
Well, so what does a plea deal mean, or what does it mean?
Just the process, all of what has happened. Just bring us up to date, and then explain what the plea deal means as well.
So the federal government has jurisdiction over certain crimes that are committed under color of law that violate people's civil rights. And state courts have wide-ranging authority to prosecute criminal conduct, whether it's civil rights related or not. So when George Floyd was killed, Derek Chauvin was charged, and his 3 people who were his alleged accomplices were charged. Now, I say alleged because 2 of them still have a right to a jury trial. They should be presumed innocent. They must be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And as a prosecutor, I say that I spent 16 years defending people's rights. I'm not going to start violating them now just because I'm a prosecutor. It's even more important that I safeguard their rights. But Derek Chauvin was found guilty by a state court, and then he pled guilty in federal court. And he also pled guilty to a 2014 crime that he committed 2017 crime that he committed against a 14-year-old boy where he stood on that kid's neck for 17 minutes. So he was convicted of that. He was indicted for that, convicted of that. It's important to know, and this goes back to my point about administrative remedies, firing bad cops from the department. He never had a sustained complaint for what he did to John Pope, who was a kid at the time. And so there's that. Now, when you take the other three, Lane, Tao, and King, one of those has pled guilty. All three of them were found guilty in federal court for federal criminal civil rights violations earlier this year in February. One of them has pled guilty in state court to a manslaughter charge. The other two are set for jury trial on June 13th is when jury selection is set to begin. Now, those two got to be super careful because, again, they have the right to be presumed innocent. They have the right to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And we do not question that at all. In fact, we hold to that. And I must say that, and it's critical that we say that. Now, but so those guys are set to face the criminal justice system on June 13th, and we'll see what happens from there. But Lane is now adjudicated guilty. He is guilty. He pled guilty. He said he was guilty, and his sentencing is yet to be determined. And none of the federal sentences have occurred yet. So neither Chauvin or King, Lane, or Tao have been sentenced in the federal, but Chauvin was sentenced in the state, and he was sentenced to 22.5 years. So just for your listeners, there's a federal trial, there's a state one. On the federal one, they all three are guilty. On the state one, King and Tao are awaiting trial. Chauvin and Lane have been either found or pled guilty.
Is there a range of punishments recommended in the federal trial? What's the range? And what were the the federal district court judge is Judge Paul Magnuson. He has a wide discretion. He can because a death is involved, he can give them a lot of time, or he can give them barely any time. There is a very wide range of sentencing options before the federal district court judge. Are there guidelines? There are guidelines, but the court does not have to follow them. There's no mandatory minimums, and so, it's so, there are guidelines, and the guidelines could be in the range of 80 some months. But you know what? But when it comes to federal sentencing outside of the drug context, outside of the mandatory minimum context, the court has wide discretion. Are there precedents that you can look to? Not that many, quite frankly, not that many. I mean, so again, that's the federal government's case. That's not my case. But there's not a lot of precedent, quite honestly. I mean, they're what the guidelines say, and the fact is that, this crime that they were convicted of in federal court really was truly shocking to the American people and to people around the world. And, both sides had a chance to put their issues in front of that federal jury, and that federal jury found how they found. So that's the way it is. And so my personal opinion is that if 12 people randomly chosen hear all the same information, find unanimously that people are guilty, that is something that should be respected by a court. Now, again, I'm not going to second guess the judge. The judge is going to do what the judge is going to do, but he hasn't done it yet. So, okay. Let me ask you about the climate that we're living in right now. Right. I look at it two ways. One is that it's a new arena in that because of social media, people have more information more quickly, and the information empowers people to speak more passionately and with more confidence in an arena where individuals.
And with less accountability.
And with less accountability, I'm sure, yeah. But in an arena where protest statements were routinely dismissed and where misconduct by the police officers was generally categorized as one of, isolated. You know, it happened here one time, but did not reflect the culture and the character of law enforcement. What I believe exists right now, Attorney General, is a real look, a hard look at the entire process, and the process stinks. And so I call that the change we're looking at. What do you think?
Well, interestingly enough, I would urge people to take a good look at the Minnesota Human Rights Department's report.
Mm-hmm.
And that report came up with some pretty harsh findings. And what I'll say about it is that it's a well-written report. It's 72 pages. It was conducted over the course of 23 months, which means that it was very carefully looked at. And you can go online and get it. Just look at the investigation into the city of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Police Department. And, you know, basically what it found is this on page 5 of the summary of the investigation. A pattern or practice of discrimination is present where the denial of rights consists of something more than isolated, sporadic incidents, but is a repeated, routine, or a generalized nature. And such a showing may be made through statistical evidence and or other examples. And what they find is that after extensive research, 700 hours of watching body-worn camera, that it has been found that there is such a pattern of abuse that it exists, and that is their finding. At this point, they engage nationally recognized experts, extensive viewing of materials, and the Minnesota Department of Human Rights finds that there is probable cause that the city of Minneapolis and the MPD engage in a pattern or practice of race discrimination in violation of the Human Rights Act, specifically that the Minnesota Department of Human Rights finds that the MPD engages in a pattern or practice of discriminatory race-based policing by racial disparities in how the MPD officers use force, stop, search, and arrest, and cite people of color, particularly Black individuals, compared to white individuals. MPD officers' use of the covert social media, MPD officers' consistent use of racist, misogynistic, and disrespectful language. Now, look, I want to be clear. I don't think that this means every officer is engaging in racial discriminatory conduct. But I do believe that there are enough, and it has not been corrected for long enough, so that it is possible for a state agency to take an objective look and come to these conclusions that probable cause has been found. Now, probable cause is not proof beyond by the preponderance of the evidence. Probable cause just means that there's enough here to say that there's enough to investigate further, that this is not a spurious or lightweight allegation, and it means that it would have to be proved in a court of law by the preponderance of the evidence, because this is a civil matter, but it's a serious thing. And let me just remind you, Al, and I don't need to remind you, I'll remind our listeners that it was the mid-1990s, maybe it was 92, when Lieutenant Mike Sorrell went to court and was charged with misconduct and excessive force. When he found out the city was looking to settle the case, he went on a public relations campaign demanding that the city fight the case. The city did fight the case, and a jury found by preponderance of the evidence that the city had a pattern of deliberate indifference regarding excessive force and hit the city with $800,000. So look, man, this is not new, man. I'm so glad that they did this report, but this is a long-standing problem that we've got to address. Here's one thing I want your listeners to know, though. This is the good news. The good news is if we take it seriously, we can resolve it. We can resolve this. I mean, cities like Newark, New Jersey, Camden, New Jersey, Austin, Texas, and many others have confronted these problems and have come out on the other side pretty well. I mean, in Newark, New Jersey, there were no officer-involved shootings in the year 2020. In Newark, New Jersey, they aren't paying out civil rights violations. We don't have to live this way. We can do better. And quite honestly, I've been subject to a fair amount of criticism because I believe that it's not a great idea to pay out, $70 million in police misconduct judgments, $55 million in property damage sparked by Derek Chauvin killing George Floyd, which sparked civil unrest. Mm-hmm. And I want to be clear. You're never going to see Keith Ellison say that it's a good idea to do a riot or arson or any of those things. I condemn those things. Those are wrong. But it is predictable if you look at American history, mm-hmm. that if you have a group of people who are systematically subjected to government-sponsored arbitrary force, then they're going to get really mad about it, take to the streets, and break and burn some things. Now, I'm going to say most of the protesters overwhelmingly did not break or burn anything.
Right.
But I will say that, look, I was born in Detroit, man. When I was 4 years old, I remember the riots that took place there. But let me say, so Detroit, here's the thing, Al, in case we're talking a little bit of history.
Sure.
Because again, when I get up here and say we've got to deal with this, I get a lot of folks who are like, we don't really have to deal with this. We can hope for the best. Maybe it won't happen ever again. I'm like, the first investigative report I ever read regarding police excessive force was the 1919 Chicago Riot, in which a black kid swam accidentally into the white section of the Lake Michigan. A white mob threw rocks at him and killed him. The black parents came up and said to the police, "You've got to do something about these people," and the police rebelled against them. If you read the 1919 Chicago riots, it does sound a whole lot like this report I got right here in my hand, written and issued just about a month ago. But why? So let's do the in-between, not just the Chicago, that's 1919 riots in Chicago. What about the 1935 Harlem riots, or the 1943 Harlem riots, or the 1943 Detroit riots, or the McCone Commission report on the LA riots in the mid-1960s? Or what about the Kerner Commission, which investigated thousands of riots sparked by police misconduct all across this country? Why stop there? The Christopher Commission in the 1990s after the Rodney King riots, and Miami, Newark, New Jersey, so many others. Oh, and right up into the situation with Michael Brown in Ferguson, which sparked President Obama to do the 21st Century Policing Investigative Report, right up until right now. This is an enduring problem. Look, our country has said that it is, I know we got a lot of discrimination, and I don't want to get into debates about whether there's discrimination. Of course there is. But it's not legal, right? And our country said that it was illegal to discriminate against people on the basis of race, and if you do it, you can be held civilly liable, and if you commit a crime, you can be held criminally liable if it's found. But the one thing we've never really done that is a vestige of the pre-multiracial democracy is we haven't reformed policing, right? We've got to do that. We've got to say that police are not here to maintain a social order. They're here to maintain peace for everyone. That's what we've got to evolve to.
Let me pivot, Keith, for the last part of this interview and talk about guns in the community.
Right.
And by that, I'm thinking of particularly the horrific incident in Uvalde, Texas, and in
Buffalo,
New York. Buffalo, New York. But I'm also thinking about this spate of gun violence in our town and all over the country. So police.
Well, when you talk about gun violence,
but in the community, what about that as well?
When you talk about gun violence, you need to think about it in terms of five fingers on a hand. Okay. One is street violence. Individuals getting easy access to guns, taking out revenge, people in the neighborhood. This happens in Minneapolis, it happens in Chicago, it happens all over the country. Then you got to talk about the mass shootings, which happen almost every day somewhere. A mass shooting is more than 4. Then you got to talk about domestic violence, how domestic partners will use guns to kill their domestic partner. Then you got to talk about suicides, which are a very serious cause. And then the last one you got to talk about is accidental deaths. Now, you can't do one thing to solve all 5. Accidental deaths, trigger locks, gun lockers, making sure kids can't have access to the guns. That's going to stop a lot of accidental deaths. Suicides, waiting periods are really important. That's why you should not be able to walk up to a store, buy a gun, and walk out. You should not be able to do that. If you need a gun, you can wait a few days. You can, and you could have a background check to find out whether, anybody in your family, so-and-so's trying to get a gun. They've been depressed. They've been despondent. Maybe somebody should say something. Waiting periods. Red flag laws help the domestic violence in the partners, the issues of domestic partners. You need red flag laws. If somebody calls the police on you and there's probable cause that you committed domestic violence, you should have your guns taken away until that matter is resolved. When that matter is resolved and you're not convicted, maybe you should have your rights back. But during the pendency of that matter, those guns you need to turn them in. When it comes to mass shootings, honestly, we need to just cut down the availability. I mean, an 18-year-old, two 18-year-olds walk into a gun store, get AR-15s in Buffalo and in Uvalde. If they had a waiting period, or what if we said you can't get that till you're 21 years old? Mm-hmm. You'd have a lot of live people right now. And then these individual shootings that happen, random street violence where people either, are using stolen guns, or now you got ghost guns out there, guns with no serial numbers on them. I mean, we just need to cut the availability. And my view is that if we could somehow say we're going to require trigger locks and prosecute people who don't do it if there's a death, red flag laws for domestic violence victims, waiting period to protect people who are, in depression, waiting periods for young people, maybe raise the age. Look, you can get a gun easier than you could drive a car. You got to take a class to drive and get a license and pass a test to do that. Now, some people thinking, Ellison's against guns. I'm a gun owner myself. Let me tell you, I really enjoy tromping through the woods. And yes, I do hunt. There's nothing, I'm not anti-gun. I'm anti-bad policy. Mm. A gun is a serious thing, like a car. Mm-hmm. Now, you can't drive a 2,000-pound piece of steel 80 miles an hour without a license and insurance having passed the test. Why should you be able to get a machine that's only purpose is to kill? There's no reason to have a gun other than to kill. Now, some people say, well, shoot targets. If all you want to do is shoot targets, you can get a BB gun. Guns are to kill. That's what they do. So those are some thoughts I have. I am working real closely with other attorneys general and state legislators to try to figure out how we can bring some real sensibility here, how we can save some people. I mean, and one of the things we don't talk about is these gun suicides. They are utterly devastating. And you know who is affected in a very large numbers? Men over 50.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of these guys, they get these guns and they figure, this is how I'm going to end it. Usually if it's not opioids or cirrhosis, it's that gun. Take them out.
Keith, thank you for spending time with me today. Always good to talk to you. I want to have you come back often and
Absolutely.
update and give us the background and the nuance. Thank you for your work at the state legislature. Last question. What's your assessment on the impasse between the governor and the legislature leaving $10 billion or $9 billion on the table and not serving your department or the interest of communities with budget decisions.
The real truth is it's Senate Republicans who just refuse to negotiate. I mean, they just refuse. They cross their arms and say, nope. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We got people dying in the street. We don't have enough prosecutors. Can we put some money on that? No. What about women being trafficked? No. What about, small counties not having enough resources and needing to turn to the AG's office? No. They would rather leave crime victims suffering in small counties without help than to send that money to a Democratic Attorney General. And that is sad. That is a heartbreak.
They're holding the residents of our state hostage.
They are, and I hope the residents of our state remember this in November. I mean, the bottom line is, I'm not here to tell anybody to be a Democrat or Republican. You be whatever you want. But I am here to tell you your government has a responsibility to protect your safety. And if they won't, then, and they won't fund it and they won't get the resources needed to do it, then that's a real problem. My office prosecuted over 38 criminal cases, serious cases and since I've been the Attorney General, only 2 cases have been involving official misconduct. All the other ones were people who were just citizens who lost their loved ones in tragic criminal conduct. And so we're here trying to do all we can, but we need some help from our Senate Republicans. And and I think the voters should just keep in mind. I'm not even asking people to vote based on party. Just say, did you or did you not send the Attorney General the money that they needed to help small counties and to help county prosecutors? And if your answer is no, I didn't, then you're not worthy to. I think you shouldn't be in office. I think we should get somebody who puts the needs of crime victims first. That's just my take on the matter.
Keith, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great conversation.
All right. Thank you. I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. Thanks to Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Wonderful presentation. Glad to have him around. Bringing my co-host in, Brenda Lau-Gray, and our guest for the balance of the program. The Comcast organization is a project called RISE, Comcast RISE. And we run a story in the past several days, and we'll be doing more in the days to come, letting people know that Comcast is going to be giving grants totaling $1 million to 100 businesses in Twin Cities that are businesses owned and run by women or people of color. And today I have the fortune and the pleasure of introducing the person driving that project here in Minnesota, Brother Otis Artis. And along with Brother Artis, we have 2 businesses that have been recipients of grants in the past. And those owners are Choua, is it Choua? Choua? Am I saying that the right way?
Yes, Choua.
Choua, okay. And Laquita, let's see, let me have your last name. It's not here on the, you should put your full last name there, Laquita. And I have it on my chart here on the side, so I apologize for not having it top of mind right now. But I want to have this conversation with you about this project, this program, and the value that it means. So, Otis, let me go to you first. Laquita Mosley, thank you for changing your ID there. Otis, let me go to you first and talk about your role at Comcast, because you're the one that's driving this project in this market. And as I understand it, this round is the second round in Minnesota. And so there'll be a total. So last year, the company gave out $1 million to about 100 businesses at $10,000 each, plus other things that go into the promotion. And this year they're doing the same thing. I understand from my friends at Comcast that our city, our area, was chosen to continue because of how effective this project was last year. So let me ask you to talk about Comcast RISE, what that represents, what the vision is, what the mission is, and how it's going from your point of view, Brother Otis Artis.
Yes, thanks for having me today, Al. We're definitely excited, as you've already mentioned, the second time here in the Twin Cities. My name is Otis Artis. I'm the Regional RISE Coordinator for the Twin Cities at Comcast, and I, along with a phenomenal team, drive this project. No way I could do this alone. So the entire team at Comcast RISE here in the Twin Cities, we're so excited for the second time to give away this $1 million in grants. We've got a couple recipients here that you'll be able to find out a little bit about how it's impacted their business. So we're happy to have them share their stories as well. But the Comcast RISE program is set to help the people of color, as you mentioned, and women-owned businesses that were hit hardest during that pandemic. So we want to award them, make sure that they are able to serve their community, continue to hire more, and have their businesses thrive.
And so this project is part of a national initiative, according to the press release I have, that up to now, and including this round, about 16 million will be distributed to small businesses in 5 different cities. And Minneapolis and St. Paul is one of those cities. What's the big national picture?
Yeah, I mean, we want to continue to drive this, as you mentioned. This go round with the grant program, we've got Atlanta, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia, as well as Minneapolis. I foresee this continuing to go on, as we want to make sure that that we can touch more businesses as we continue this drive toward equality within the business world.
Okay, what's your own story, Otis? How long have you been to Comcast, and what all do you do there?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's been 2 long, short years, and I'll start that off because we joined up with Comcast prior to the pandemic, and then everything changed. Of course, everyone was working remotely. We picked up a lot of different skills that we didn't know we had, so everyone was able to dig deep, show resilience, and continue to thrive during this time period. So I've been with Comcast 2 years now, and now I'm on the business side of the house as a client service manager, as well as regional RISE coordinator, and I serve on our Black Employee Network. So I am the co-chair of what we call BEN, which is our Black Employee Network. It's a employee resource group that helps network and within the Comcast community.
Let me introduce Choua Chong again. Choua, thank you for being here as well. And you own a business in Brooklyn Park called Global Grocery Market. And your goal, I'm reading from a press release, or statement, was to create a store that serves authentic Asian, African, and Hispanic groceries, and in a way that brings food directly to people's doorstep, or that serves them with convenience, and that there's a broader mission. And the mission is to provide culturally diverse foods to the community and have it accessible and available. Wonderful vision. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, exactly what you said. Our goal is to be able to deliver groceries directly to our customers and our front door and have them be able to access it. So during this pandemic, my own family was also impacted by this as well. And there was like no cultural food that you can actually just order online and get it directly to your doorstep or even pick it up. So we really, this idea was thought through for about a year. And when the pandemic happened, we were like, oh, we really need this in our community. And so we decided to go for it.
You've got a wonderful website. I don't know if you can pull up your website. Are you able to pull it up and share it?
Yeah, let me see.
I looked at it. It's fabulous. It's really warm and inviting and lively. And so if you can share that with us, that would be awesome, and talk about it and use that to talk about your business. But you applied for the Comcast grant last year, the first round here in Minnesota. Were you pretty confident you get it? What were your thoughts? Why did you apply for it? And what did you decide when you found out you won it?
I really didn't think I was gonna get it. Actually, it took, I think, about 2 to 3 months until I received an email. But I was looking for grants, and as a person of color, as well as a small business, it was really difficult to just find any sort of grants. So I literally Googled it, and I found that Comcast RISE was available. And so I just went for it and applied, and I really didn't think I was going to get it. When I got the email, I was really excited. And I really couldn't believe that I got the grant. I knew that during this time, I really needed the grant, but I was literally desperate, right, to do whatever I needed to do for my business to keep going. And so I just decided to apply. And again, I didn't really think I was going to get it. It's all of these sort of grants are so competitive. And so I just went for it, really. And I encourage everyone to go for the grants and just apply and tell your story and what your mission is. And that really drives me to continue. And knowing that Comcast and bigger corporations could really help small businesses out, I'm really excited to continue this business and see what happens.
Tell me more about your business. Did you put your website up? Did you get your website?
Yeah.
Website up?
I don't know. Am I able to share my screen, or can you guys see it?
You are. Yeah. If you can share.
Okay.
So remember, we're doing two things. We got people watching on Facebook and YouTube, but the largest number are listening on the radio. So you have to paint a mental picture in the minds of our radio listeners as well. So
okay, yeah, absolutely. So the website is www.globalgrocerymarket.com. And so once you get on the
are you sharing
website,
it yet? Are you sharing it? Click on it and see if you can share it.
Okay, I'll share.
Yeah.
Share screen. There you go.
And I'll tell you if we see it.
Okay, I'll just share this.
It should be. There we go. That should share. Okay. So yeah, there we go.
Okay, can you see it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
expand it so it's full screen on your computer there, if you can.
Oops, let me see here.
Almost, we're getting there. Yeah.
Can I expand it?
I think you had it a second ago.
Okay, if I do that, can you see it?
There we go. Yeah, walk us through it.
Okay. All right, great. So you just go to globalgrocerymarket.com. This is the front page, but you can go on Shop All, and you'll be able to see all of the items that are available on here. And then you just click on the items that you're looking for, add it to your cart, and then you'll be able to check out and choose. I'll just add this quickly. And if you check out.
And so for listeners, we're actually going through the process of buying something on her website. And it's a very easy to navigate, user-friendly website.
Once you get to checkout, you can choose curbside pickup or delivery.
Okay.
Put your address right in and then be able to check out. If you choose delivery, it will give you a 2-hour time frame with the estimated time as well, as it shows here for pickup. And if you want no contact, we can do that as well. But yeah, it's very simple. It's very simple to buy things through this website. I love it that nowadays technology is very advanced, and not only advanced, but I want to say not only advanced, but cheaper now, right? So that small businesses like mine will be able to utilize this. And so I encourage people to go out there, do their research, and use the technology that's available to us today. and utilize it for curbside pickup or online ordering. I do shipping as well, so I do ship nationwide, and that has helped a ton, especially during this pandemic. But I'm trying to modernize the way you shop in ethnic grocery stores today, and be able to truly provide that convenience and that accessibility to individuals that really are looking for this culturally diverse food. And so I'm
You
trying
can
to make
end your share now. You can cancel the share. There should be a tab at the bottom that says end share or at the top somewhere.
Yep, I'll stop screen. Okay.
Oops, there we go. Okay, great.
Yeah, so that's really the goal of Global Grocery Market, is for us to truly have culturally diverse food accessible and available to everyone who's looking for it. And during this pandemic has just proven that people are looking for it.
Let me talk to Laquita. She's moving around. Laquita Mosley, are you there?
Yes,
She's
I'm here.
getting back. How are you doing, first of all?
I'm pretty good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining the program. And congratulations on having been one of the grant recipients last year. Talk about your business and how you happened to become aware of the grant and why you decided to go for it yourself.
All right, so I am Laquita Mosley. I am the owner and CEO of Lamug Fashion and More LLC. So we specialize in women's plus size clothing and shapewear. And I'm the winner of the technology makeover of the Comcast RISE. So I found out about the Comcast RISE program by Googling grants and ways to grow my business. And I came across the Comcast RISE. So I just decided to apply, and I didn't think that I was going to get chosen. I didn't even know anything about a technology makeover. So when I got the email, I was kind of shocked. I was asked to what I won. So it was really a blessing and everything. It's helped the business flourish in so many ways, in different levels. Like my team can be mobile, pop up at all kind of different shops, we can make more money around the city, and go to all kind of cities, different cities all over the state, even out of state, with the technology that was provided. It's helping me so much with the record systems like QuickBook, and it's easy for my team and everything. It's just helping me out a lot. Before I had this, I had to do so much work, but now it's just so much easier. I got more people on the team, 2 more people on the team helping me out, going different places. So versus being in the store, you have to sit in one spot, but with the iPads and stuff, you can just move around and go everywhere. I just love that. And
describe your business, the kinds of products you have and what you're bringing to the marketplace.
So I have many products, but I usually specialize in just women's shapewear and plus size clothing.
What is women's shapewear? What does that mean?
So women's shapewear is undergarments and a lot of the stuff that you'll see on TikTok now, like the zip up stuff to fit the body, to have you more curvier. Yeah, because today's society, that's real big right now in today's society. So a lot of women like to be in shape, and just, have everything in place. So I specialize in that, and I provide local shipping, so they won't have to wait for delivery and shipping. So I have a lot of things in my store that you don't have to wait for online. And the plus size clothing, my plus size clothing is unique. It's not a lot of the things that a lot of people have. I like to be different. So you'll find some pieces at my store that are one of a kind and, that you've never seen before.
Okay. How did you decide to go into business? How long have you been in business, and why did you decide to go into business?
So I've been into fashion for a long time. I've always loved fashion. So I decided to go into business to open up a storefront because I was selling clothes and shoes out of my trunk at first. So that got kind of
Here in
dangerous.
Minnesota, where?
Yes, in Minnesota.
Talk about that. I mean, so my image of that is the hip hop music salespeople. They got rich selling CDs and mixtapes out of their trunks all over the country. So that's a model that Black people have perfected, right? And so some people think it's kind of whack to be on the street hustling, but the evidence shows the opposite. That's the way you take it to the market, take it to the people, and the people will respond. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
So how did you feel selling it out of your car, first of all, being mobile? What was
So,
your attitude? What attitude did you have to be persistent enough to keep the business going?
so you have to just have that drive to just like go for what you want. You have to be persistent. You can't be shy. You have to be a people person. You have to be willing to talk and stuff. And be a salesperson. It is hard. You have to have tough skin. Because you get a lot of different reactions. Everybody's not the same, and you kind of gotta open your mouth and sell your product. You gotta have good advertising skills. Be willing to talk to all different kind of people and stuff, and just accept anything. Accept rejection. And you may why I say you have to have tough skin is because you may run into some rough people. I have been robbed out on the street, selling that. That's one of the reasons why I opened up a store, to have more security.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're in the business now, you're in the building, but you want to be not just stationary. And this technology upgrade that you got from Comcast is helping you be more accessible to your markets. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
What's the grand vision for your company? Where do you plan to go with this?
So I do design my own brands. So I do plan to get my sketches on New York Fashion Week one day.
Okay.
Because a lot of stuff that I see in the stores, like I don't like, or it doesn't fit right, or the same thing with my customers. So I want to make the products to their liking and their style, and make sure they're satisfied in every way. But my sketches are really unique, so I would love to have them on New York Fashion Week one day.
Okay. All right.
So that's one with this.
Okay. Let me bring up the other guest as well, bring everybody back in. And Otis, congratulations to you and the people at Comcast for bringing this work forward by supporting business owners like Choua and Laquita Mosley and their companies. So tell people how they apply. So I think the window for the new grant is June 1, tomorrow, for about 10, 15 days. Talk about that.
Man, you got to say that, Al. That's the most important thing, right? It's, first of all, like the two recipients have said here, they search. It's a lot of work to find out where these grants are. Now they're here. They're here. And that's why we're here on your platform to share with your listeners. Tomorrow is the big day. So the 1st of June through the 14th. So the 1st through the 14th. And this is one of those times you cannot be late. So we need you to apply within that window, the 1st through the 14th, ComcastRISE.com. Write that down, ComcastRISE.com, RISE.com. Get on there, get your application in. We want more recipients to take advantage of this. As you see here today, these are great entrepreneurs. Everyone just needs that recharge. As we get back into society, things are opening back up. People are willing and ready to service communities where they are. They want to find people where they are, whether that be on the street, like Laquita didn't mention, I think we've got Purple Day coming up, and you're going to be there as well. I don't know if you wanted to bring that up as well, but another great opportunity for us to get out in front of the community.
Thank you.
Talk about it, Laquita. Go ahead.
Thank you, Otis. Yes, so I have a Purple Day event coming up. That's for the Prince event that's going on every year. It's at the Phyllis Wheatley Center, and I'm going to be selling T-shirts for everyone that's attended the Central High School. With Prince and everything. If you were a part of that school, I have T-shirts and everything, and I also make a hair serum. It's really great. It grows your hair. So I'll be out there. If you come out, you can come and check me out. So of course, I'll be in purple.
That's it. That's it, Al. That's what it's about. Representation, investment, strength, and empowerment. That's what RISE stands for. And by the end of 2022, we're actually on track to have over 13,000 small businesses receive one of these grants. So make your opportunity available right now. It's available to you. So jump in June 1st to the 14th, ComcastRISE.com. Thank you for having us, Al.
Who's invited? I said at the beginning, women-owned businesses and businesses owned by people of color. Explain that so people know what the parameters are.
Yes, you nailed it. So people of color and women-owned businesses, and we did the research on those particular dynamics as far as the help that's needed. The more within those dynamics, people were impacted during the pandemic. So we wanted to focus and give them that extra boost. You can always go on ComcastRISE.com as well to find out any details or frequently asked questions as far as what you need to apply and the ins and outs, because there's just so many different questions. But we've did a good job of curating those for you to look at.
I did ask you that you've been there 2 years, but before you were at Comcast, where were you? And are you a native of Minneapolis, Otis?
Yeah, well, I am over 30 years here, but I'm originally born and raised in Gary, Indiana. So great roots, brought that same determination here to the Twin Cities. Prior to that, I've been working in the communication fields prior to that, and our sister station, KMOJ. So you can definitely listen in. Otis the Entertainer, Otis the Entertaining Artist, as some may know, but a lot of radio history from KMOJ to B96 to Vibe 105. And so always being a part of the community. And that's one of my greatest, when you think about what's your purpose, my purpose is to connect our community resources. So this aligns with everything that I'm here for. Working for Comcast, this is a great culture. They're willing to give back to the community. They continue to do that time and time again. And this is one of those connections that I want to make sure our community takes advantage of and thrives, and circulate that Black dollar, circulate that people of color monies that stay in the community for a little bit. And then let's turn that over, because there's a lot of great businesses, as you see a couple here today. There's plenty more.
Got about a minute, 2 minutes left. I ask guests now to reflect on George Floyd, what George Floyd meant to your community, to you personally, and to our business environment. And if you don't have a comment, that's fine. But I think all of us, one level or another, had some kind of impression or feeling, or our businesses were affected somehow. Combination of George Floyd and COVID in particular turned everything upside down. So let me ask you, how was the global grocery market affected by the George Floyd incident?
Yeah, I think it has shifted people's perspective of people of color's businesses overall, just kind of being able to truly see that people of color should be supported. And that I honestly have seen that we're getting more support from the majority because of this shift in what happened to George Floyd. Just personally seeing it with shifting of other people coming into my store, just seeing a diverse of individuals actually stopping in, shopping, being comfortable, being in your store because of the culturally diverse food that you do carry. So I have seen that shift. I'm born and raised here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I know from firsthand how it feels to be a person of color. just walking into certain environments, right? And just understanding how other people look at you. So I've seen that shift, and I'm more than unfortunate. It's unfortunate about the what happened to George Floyd, but I truly think that people's eyes are finally open.
Laquita, same question. You've got about 30 seconds. What experience or what feelings do you have? What has been the shift as you see it behind George Floyd's murder?
So I see that from what I see, I really don't talk about it much because I really get emotional about it. But I do see that we as the people are making an amazing change at being heard. And we should just keep up the fight, and it woke a lot of people up, to stand up for, what we believe in. And we just got to continue, we just need to continue and keep up the fight. And we are, believe it or not, making a difference.
Listen, we're at the end of our hour. I want to thank you, Laquita Mosley. Thank you, Choua. Thank you, brother Otis Artis. I've got Artis in my family. I'm going to call you back and ask you if you're related, out of North Carolina, I think, and Texas. Thank you, Brenda, my colleague and partner here. And I see my friend, Lady J, in the studio. I'm going to turn the program back over to Lady J. Thank you all. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Lady J, it's yours.
Here, thank you.
Take care, guys.